Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm participating in the YouTube collaboration Stretch the Sketch. I'm going to put links to all the other participants below, so be sure to check them out. We are going to be altering a 12 by 12 Brenda Ragsdale sketch, and my plan is to stretch it into a double page layout. Now here's what I'm going to be using. Most of it comes from the Simple Stories Bro & Co. collection. I did very little preparation in advance. Basically, I have two 12 by 12 pieces of white cardstock, and I did some faux stitching around the outside edges, and I do a bit more of that later on, so you will be able to see how I do that. I also matted my 4 photos. Now, I used that denim paper for that, and that paper is from Stampin' Up. It's not from Simple Stories. I also have a pile of paper on my desk, some stickers, and a tray full of embellishments. And of course, I have the sketch on my desk. Now, my plan is to flip it on its side and then mirror it. The first thing I'm going to do is prepare my foundation page. And this is the most complex thing. I've made myself a little chart, and take note of the measurements on that chart because I'm not going to write them on the screen. So from the bottom right, I put a point on the paper at 8 1/4 inches. And then from that same part, up towards the top on the vertical, I put a point at 9 1/4 inches. I drew a line in pencil. I cut it out with my scissors because it was too big for my trimmer, and now I slipped it in my trimmer and just tidied it up a bit. I flip it over because I want to mirror this triangle, and I draw myself a line. Once again, I'm cutting it with scissors a little bit away from the line, and then I'm slipping it in the trimmer and just tidying it up a bit. So now I have 2 triangles that are going to kind of fan out from the middle of this double page spread. I'm going to do the same thing at the top for the top of the page, but the triangles are going to be a little bit smaller. So I'm putting the point across the top at 7 1/4 inches, and towards the bottom I do it at 6 1/4 inches. This time I don't draw a line because it's small enough to slip in my trimmer, and I just cut myself a triangle. I'm going to do the same thing. I flip the triangle over. I want a mirror image of this triangle. I draw a line in pencil, and now I'm slipping it in the trimmer and I'm going to cut it. So then I'm going to have 4 triangles, and 2 large ones for the bottom and 2 smaller ones for the top. Also, what I'm going to do is cut myself 4 strips of 12-inch paper. So I'm going to do it in this denim, a 2-inch strip and then a 1-inch strip. And then I'm going to do the very same thing with this orange paper, 2 inches and 1 inch. Now I have all my paper parts for the foundation page, and I'm going to just place them to show you how it looks. And also take note, the triangles on the top, I put an X in pencil towards the bottom of the triangle end that goes in the middle of the page. And that's going to be a guide later on when I do some adhering. But before adhering anything, I'm going to add some more faux stitching. So this is what I did around the white page as well. I have a template by Stampin' Up that has little holes in it. It's an old retired template, and I'm taking a paper piercing tool and poking holes in it, and there's this kind of firm foam mat underneath. Now what I'm going to do is simply join those holes together with a fine black marker, and it looks like black stitching. I stopped the camera and I did it to all 4 triangles, and now what I'm going to do is start adhering these pieces together. I'm going to start with those small triangles on the top, and I'm going to adhere those 12-inch strips along the edge. But you may notice the end where I put that X in pencil, I start the strip of paper a little bit in. It doesn't go all the way to the end of the triangle. And what that means is the long strips are going to go and bleed off the top of the page. I do it on the other side as well. And I also am careful not to put too much adhesive at that end where I put the X, because you're going to see in a moment when I adhere the large triangle to the bottom of the page, there's a lot of folding over that happens, and I will do my best to explain it. So I'm adhering this triangle to the bottom of the page, and what's going to happen is I lift the small triangle at the top and I slip the large triangle underneath it. So basically that long strip, those 12-inch strips go underneath the large triangle. Then the large triangle is on top of that. And finally, on the very top is the small triangle. So there's this folding action that's taking place or something like that. Now what I'm doing is simply flipping over the page, putting it in my trimmer and trimming off that excess paper at the top, and my foundation pages are made. So now what I'm going to do is place my photo. So you can see there's a sketch in the top left-hand corner. Basically, the page on the right is more or less going to look like that sketch, and the page on the left is where my focal point is going to be. Now I have a 7 by 5 that can be replaced by two 3.5 by 5s. And what I'm doing right now is cutting up that title sheet, and it's on plastic, transparent plastic, so it's kind of fun to cut it up and just use it as placement as opposed to wax paper. And what I'm doing right now is establishing 3 places for embellishment clusters. Now if you look at the sketch, there's one in the top left, kind of the bottom right, and the top right. I'm going to do more or less the same thing, but instead it's going to go across the 2 pages. So I have where that title is, Totally Awesome. That's going to be one big embellishment cluster. Then I'm going to go down towards where that journaling box is, kind of the bottom middle. That's the second embellishment cluster. And the third one is in the top right. So I more or less established my 3 embellishment clusters, but before adhering anything, I do want to add a bit of paint splatter. So that is a re-inker from Stampin' Up! Basic Gray. I put 3 drops in there, 3 squirts of water, and I have a paintbrush, and I'm holding it about 7 inches above my paper, and I'm just tapping that paintbrush with my other finger. And I'm doing that in the 3 areas where I will be putting my embellishment clusters. So now I'm going to adhere my photos to the page, and basically what I'm going to do is adhere the skeleton embellishment clusters. That's what I call them, because I'm basically establishing where my embellishment clusters are going to be, and mostly what I'm putting down here are the bigger pieces, and then I'll come in at the end and I'll add a bunch of smaller pieces and kind of finish off the embellishment clusters. That little piece of ephemera that says "do your thing," when I was washing my paintbrush, I took the opportunity to back that one with some cardstock so I could pop it up on foam adhesive. I'm just moving that entire photo cluster over about 1/4 of an inch. I felt there was too much white space really over on the far right. So now I'm adhering it all to the page. The clusters here on the right page end up getting changed around a little bit. I kind of fuss quite a bit with my embellishment clusters throughout this process, and you'll see it. Anyway, so I'm almost done here, and then what I'm going to do is start working on this left-hand page. So I cut myself another title out, thinking Totally Awesome Boy. Anyway, I really do love these title stickers. I think I bought the entire collection because of these title stickers, so I'm going a little bit crazy with them right now. Anyway, I'm kind of trying to play around with the title, and I'm basically putting embellishments in 2 areas around that large photo, but I'm considering this all one giant embellishment cluster. At one point I decide I have to commit. I'm not certain about my embellishment clusters, but I do know where my photo is going to go, as well as Totally Awesome. The area where I'm working right now on the left-hand side of that photo, or where I was just working, I kind of messed up the paint a bit, so I do know I want to hide that a bit. Also, when I am creating these embellishment clusters, I definitely work with the layers. For example, some of them are tucked under the photo, some of them are tucked between the photo and the photo mat, and other pieces of decorations or ephemera or whatever stickers are on top of the photo. So I do work with all the layers, and I certainly start with the larger pieces and then I come in with the smaller pieces. You see I've cut out a bunch of these stars from that title pack, and I'm kind of playing around with those as well. I ended up not liking the title that was on the right page, the "Oh Yeah." I lifted it, I got the word dude. I thought that was fun, but then I decided I preferred it on the left-hand page. So then I come back in with the word yeah, but I dropped the word oh. So basically you can see my title there, which is Totally Awesome Dude, yeah, or yay. And that kind of has a diagonal slant to it. Now I'm coming in with those star pieces and basically adding them to all three embellishment clusters. I'm almost done here, to be perfectly honest. What I am going to do is I come in with some enamel dots, and there are 2 tags on that page on the left hand side, so I'm just going to add some enamel dots there. And at this point, I hadn't even gotten out the sticker sheet yet, so I end up just putting one little piece that says "So Handsome" above that photo on the top right. And the only thing I do off camera is I end up doing my journaling, of course, but I also end up adding some more enamel dots. You can see there's a ring around that journaling box at the bottom middle, and I end up putting some in that cluster in the top right as well. You'll see it in a minute. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you all have already subscribed, thank you very, very much. Also, please don't forget to check out all the other participants. Their links are all listed below. Have a fantastic day, and thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.